Good morning, everyone. Hey, I hope you guys had a great Christmas. This is actually the first video we're filming after Christmas, and it seems like it's been forever. We took a trip to California for a few days, but I want to just knock this video out, and this is something that I get questions on this a lot of the time from new people, but I think it's a good refresher for some of us that have been around a little bit too. So I got a question. It's just a super simple, fast question, but there's several elements to it that I want to hit, and just we've got a lot of different videos that you can go watch, but I don't have one specifically for this one question, and I want to make this the video that I send everybody to so they can really get updated information. So the question is from John, and John says, Eric, do you have any advice on holding a straight line? I have my depth at about 1/8 of an inch. Any advice would be appreciated. So there's a lot there. Even though that's a simple, fast question, there's a lot of elements to this. So let me go over them. I'm going to hit them one at a time, but I'm going to hit them fairly quickly. If you guys have questions specifically about any one of these, as always, you know that, you can always email me, eric@makeawoodsign.com. But first things first. Okay, so I wrote down some notes just so I hopefully don't miss anything. Router bits and wood. Those are the two elements that you have to have in order to be able to hold a straight line. I use the analogy a lot of if you want to be a carpenter, not having a hammer, but just having a rock instead of a hammer, probably not going to work out too well for you. So if you don't have the right router bits, and I'm not saying my router bits are the end all and best router bits are out there, but I do know that my router bits work extremely well for what we do. So router bits are key. I'm going to put a caption across the screen right now, and it will be a video that you can go watch, number 406, and it's a demo on all of our router bits. I'm not going to go into depth on that, but router bits are key. Second, wood. If you're trying to carve an old piece of construction 2x6 that you found out on a lot somewhere, or you're trying to carve an old piece of pallet board that who knows what it has gone through, you might not have good success. So my suggestion is get a good piece of wood. I use pine, I use redwood, I use cedar, but main thing is make sure it's dry. If it's not dry, you're going to have issues. And you know, there's a lot of things that go into that as well. But you want dry, good wood. This is a piece of redwood. It's a piece of redwood fencing, and I've sanded down this surface of it, and it cuts really well. But it's super dry. Well, it's not super dry, but I'd say it's around. You want your boards around 10% or less. 12 you can get by with, but I wouldn't go any wetter than that. Otherwise, you're going to have issues with routing and sanding. Okay, we'll move on. So, second, you got to have, this is my router, this is my DeWalt router. Oh my gosh, I got it hung up. So this is my DeWalt router, and this is our base plate that it really helps with control. But if you don't have a base plate, if your router isn't going to slide on your board smooth, that's going to be a problem for you, and you're going to have a little bit of an issue. I use just a paste wax. This is just something I got down at Lowe's. I just put a little paste wax on a paper towel, or you could use a rag, and I just put on there. I actually put a little bit too much on there because I'm excited because I get to run the router. Anyway, wipe off the excess so you don't get a lot of it on your actual board, and we can move that now. So that is critical, as well as make sure that your board isn't cupped going this way. If you're going to have a cup, you want your cup to go that way so the router base will slide on that cup and not get caught on the edges. Okay, I got a lot of videos on that as well. All right, so next, you want to have. So I'm going to back this off a little bit so I can set this down flat. So this is, again, this is our base plate, and you know, I know I'm probably speaking to the choir to a lot of you, but this is our base plate that we make for a lot of different routers. But the reason this works extremely well is because, number one, these trim routers don't come with handles unless you've got a plunge base, and I don't like carving with a plunge base. A lot of reasons why. But I don't specifically like using a plunge base. But now you don't have to get this base plate from us. Anybody can make one of these base plates. But by having this base plate like this, you have your hands not only on your router, but you can have your hands on your board. This is probably, if I had to pick one thing that was the most important as far as control goes, having your hands on your base plate router and on the board at the same time is critical. It's huge. It makes all the difference for me. I gotta weight my stuff down because the wind's blowing. So that is really, really big. Have a relaxed grip with this this base plate. Don't grip that thing like it's going to take off and run away from you. Just a nice relaxed grip, and you can see probably most of my hands are on the board itself. That's why you want to sand that down somewhat smooth. Don't have it too rough. I wouldn't use the other side because it's rough like fencing. So let me see what else. All right, so let me I'm actually going to cut a couple lines here. I'm going to set it. Now, John said he's got it at about 1/8 of an inch deep. You can carve this. Most of this doesn't relate to depth at all. Doesn't really matter how deep you're carving. I don't ever carve over 1/4 of an inch, but anywhere between a 1/16 and 1/4 of an inch, these same rules apply. So his 1/8 of an inch thing that he mentioned on here really doesn't make much difference. But let me just route a line real quick. Here we go. Now, you can see that this board, and again, it's redwood. Redwood has a tendency to do this. You can see that it kind of went bum, 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 and that's the technical term. And every time it hit a grain, which there are some really tiny grains in here, it didn't jump a little bit. So one of the tricks that you want to do is keep that router moving. Don't let it stop. Don't go so slow that every time you hit a little bump or something, it kind of goes sideways on you. That's number one. A second tip for you is, you saw how I pulled the router toward me. You're going to have much better control by pulling, let me just move this, by pulling the router toward you rather than pushing away. That gives you the closer you get it to your body, and the more that, well, number one, you're going to be able to see better what you're cutting if the material that you're cutting is in between you and the router bit. So pull that router toward you. Try to avoid pushing away, at least at the beginning, until you really get a hand with this. Now, if you've got other things to do, you can always turn the board, and if you want to go a different direction, just try to always be pulling the router toward you, again, until you get a better feel for it. So here's another trick. If I want to pull a line, let's say, let me grab, let's say I want to carve a straight line. I'm just winging it now, guys, but I can always use my finger as an edge guide down here if I'm putting a border or something around here. So let's see if I can pull this off. It will work. Oh, sorry about that. It will work better if you've got a little bit more room. Normally, when I do that, I'm carving a piece of 2-inch material. But let me just set something up real quick here. This is a little padded board that I use quite often. So now I've got room to actually get my finger under there, and I'll try and pull that line a little bit better. So that's one way that you can do that. That's just a tip. That doesn't come up that often, but if you're trying to pull a line for a border or something like that, you can always use your fingers as kind of an edge guide. Takes a little practice, but it's not that hard to do. So I guess, you know, there are a lot of different elements, but these are pretty much the high, it really, again, it doesn't matter whether you've got a profile bit in, which this is the profile bit, or a 90 degree or a 60 degree or whatever. But, you know, it's critical. Have the right router bits, have the right wood, and get comfortable with a base plate such as this. Again, if you don't have a base plate like this, just make one. Or if you need one, you can get a hold of us. Again, we've got the router bits as well. But I just wanted to really kind of touch on this, guys, because I found when I went to look on my channel, I couldn't find one specific video. I talk about this stuff a lot, but I didn't have one specific video that hit these kind of overall what tips. Yeah, thank you. I'm at a loss for words here. I guess it's too cold. It's like way cold today. Anyway, I wanted to make a specific video on this, so I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, again, as always, eric@makeawoodsign.com. I'm happy to help however I can. If you need supplies, you know how to get a hold of us, makeawoodsign.com. And let's see. I guess that's about it, guys. Hope this helps, and shoot me some pictures of your products and send me some questions, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.